One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Oh my goodness. I am so excited about this episode today. Because if you're a podcaster or you've thought about podcasting, I typically don't do a lot of interviews in person. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you know that last week I got a portable recorder, which is a super fancy way to say I have a microphone that I can use when I travel. It's cordless. It's amazing. And I recently went to San Diego this last week for the Entrepreneur Experience with Amy Porterfield, which is a whole other thing that we'll have to chat about later. I've got a YouTube video coming, podcast episodes, like all kinds of things whenever I finally wrap my head around all the amazing things that I learned this past week. But while I was there, I got to chat with a friend of mine who did B School last year. So now she is a mentor in our community under Amy Porterfield, and she just rocks my socks off. Like, she is so incredible. She's so down to earth. And I saw her. She recently started her own podcast, and she celebrated 1,000 downloads. And I was like, we have to meet in San Diego and tell me all about the amazing things that you're doing with your podcast. So I don't want to wait any longer. I want to introduce you to my good friend, Melanie. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Because if you've been thinking about creating a podcast for a while, well, I'm so glad you found this show. Think of this as the shortcut / time-saving version of searching Google and YouTube for hours and hours trying to figure out the world of podcasting. Trust me, as a busy mama of 3, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to be spent or wasted, I should say, searching the web, trying to find all the right ideas and all the amazing things that are out there, and you just end up overwhelmed. Trust me, I've been there, done that, took home the souvenir. But this podcast is going to help you in practical ways because twice a week we'll be delivering episodes that are going to give you steps to help you create a podcast your audience can't wait to listen to. So let's get right to it, shall we? Have you been wanting to start a podcast? You've been thinking about it. It feels right. You just know this is the next thing that my business needs. Well, I encourage you to sign up for my 5-day podcast bootcamp. This is a thing that you've been looking for. It is a 5-day video series where I walk you through exactly how to start, launch, and market your podcast, and I throw in some more information about planning strategies and being consistent and how you can make the most out of your podcast from day one. So sign up for our 5-day Create Your Podcast Bootcamp at krystalprofit.com/podcast bootcamp. And do it already. You know that you've been wanting to, so just bite the bullet and join us. All right, everybody, we are at the Entrepreneur Experience in San Diego, and I'm here with Melanie Diane Howe.
What's up?
So tell everybody who doesn't know who you are, what you do, and what your amazing podcast is about.
Well, thanks for having me. This is so fun, actually. It's great to meet with you and connect with you. We've known each other virtually, and now here we are. So I, Melanie Diane, that's a D-Y-A-N-N, a funny middle name spelling. But so I help female entrepreneurs and business owners in the scrappy stage of their business where we can't outsource anything just yet. We got to do it ourselves. And I focus on marketing because I'm very passionate about how there's so many opportunities to use social media, to put ourselves out there, to express our personal brand and our gifts, and to make a difference. And I want to teach women how to use the tools that they need so they can actually feel confident that they can create graphics and can do email marketing and they can use Facebook Live and all those things. So I call them do-it-yourself marketers. So they're my DIY marketers. So I'll be launching some online courses that will go through a lot of the things to teach them how to use these great tools that are out there for us. Because just so many people they know about them, they've heard of them, but they need a little bit of guidance and coaching on how to actually leverage them and make use of them. So my podcast is called DIY Marketing School with Melanie Diane Howe.
And when did you launch it?
I launched it about 3 months ago, I think.
Okay.
I don't even know the exact date, but I just had episode 15 come out here the week of this event here in October, and it's been fun. And I just this week hit 1,000 downloads, which was such a milestone. It's just you get. Of course, many people will get to 1,000 downloads even faster, or some people it takes 6 months to a year to get 1,000 downloads. It doesn't matter. You still have to celebrate those milestones as you hit them, regardless of when or how they happen, right? And so it was just a really fun and exciting moment where I was like, okay. And I think we all hear about podcasting, how a lot of podcasters start and then they don't keep going. And so the other thing that I wanted to celebrate with that was I've kept going. Like I have 15 episodes. And it's been fun, it's been consistent, and I'm all in. I love podcasting, and I'm going to keep doing it. Because before I was podcasting, I was trying to find my platform. Like, I'm really good with video, and I've done lots of live video, and I've done blogging, and I don't love to write, but I kept flipping around. And I always wanted to launch a podcast. About 4 years ago, I was like, ooh, I should do that. And I think literally about 4 years ago, I bought my Blue Yeti mic, and I was like, I'm doing this. And then I started researching it, and I got a little overwhelmed, and it was just like, maybe, okay, when I have time to figure this out. And I really wish I would have just gone for it, because really once I got started figuring it out, it really wasn't as hard as I thought.
Right.
Once you got the steps and you figured, and I did tons of research, and it's so funny because I wish your course would have been around 4 years ago, because I would have been like, here we go, let's do this, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, and I didn't, back then there really weren't any podcasting courses. There wasn't anybody teaching courses about how to do it. They were I think I downloaded an ebook from HubSpot, and it was hey, here's what you need. And I was like, oh, this is telling me that I can't just go figure this out. This is not a plug and play thing.
Right.
I want to do it right, and so I want to do it well. So I put it on the back burner for a little while. And so it was really exciting this year, and I was like, okay, we're going to see how this goes. And I'm not flipper. That's my platform. I love it. I absolutely love doing it.
Well, that makes my heart so happy,
right?
Because y'all know, I totally geek out on all things podcasting. That's not.
Yes, you do.
That's not a just facade that I put out. I geek out. My body language changes, and I love it.
It's pretty obvious to me how passionate you are about it, because you do such a good job putting content out.
Thank you.
And you're so giving with your content in your private group. You're so giving with the information that you share. Your YouTube channel, all your social media. It's you always get nuggets from, like, it's so easy to consume things from you and learn from you, and you're always pushing stuff out. And I'm like, hey, you're clearly passionate about it, because creating all that content takes work and it takes effort. And so for you to be doing it the way you do it is consistently, it's like, okay, clearly this is her jam. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much for saying that, because it just lights my heart on fire to for other people, like especially you, because you're so confident in your message. And I think that that's what I really want other people to embrace, is like, if you can just be confident in what you do, like what you know is your passion, I can help you with the podcasting stuff. Like that's the easy stuff. But once you find that thing that you're just like, my heart is on fire to help DIY marketers, because we know y'all can accomplish so much. Like that's just like just come to me. I'll help you with all the podcasting things.
I think our missions are very similar, which is why we connect so well, because we both want these women to put themselves out there and to utilize these tools like podcasting and vlogging and video and social media and email to, like, you know, get themselves out there so they can make a difference in the world. Because like you said, so many people have things that they're gifted with or that they're passionate about, but I think so often they don't. And I always say, don't let your gifts go ungiven. That's my phrase, because if you sit back and you wait for everything to happen for you, you won't be able to share your gifts with the world. And if you can find your platform, then you can share your gifts with the world. And so I think that you and I both are so passionate about that. And where you help people is using the podcasting platform to help them share their gifts. And I love it, because I do think it's a very powerful platform. I always say, you know, I've been doing video and social media for years, and I'm pretty confident with it, and I do a good job. But when I do a lesson on live video, I will, you know, people give me feedback. But ever since I launched my podcast, I get more feedback and more comments.
Yay!
People I don't even know, like at this conference, are like, "Oh my God, I love your podcast," or "Oh, I love that episode." I'm like, "Great, you're a total stranger. I've never talked to you."
That's so awesome.
So there's something about the podcasting platform. I think that when you're listening to a podcast, your mindset's in a different place. And I think that even though I might teach something on a live video and then literally do the exact same content in a podcast, that podcast makes a bigger difference, a bigger impact for people, because they consume it differently.
Right.
And I think that when we're on social media, people are distracted. I still think it's a great way for us to put ourselves out there, but I've been pleasantly surprised at how much more I think people are truly consuming my content because of that audio aspect of the podcast
It's
itself.
that intimate experience too, like someone just being in your ear, like you're in
Yes.
the earbuds,
Yes.
like they're running
Like,
on the treadmill,
yes.
they're walking their dog, and
Yep.
they're in the headspace to consume it. Whereas
Yeah.
on social, it's like, oh, I got a notification. What is that? Someone sent me a
Yeah.
message.
Or
I gotta
we're
go check that out.
We're checking social in between other things.
Right.
Whereas I think typically when listening to a podcast, like for me, I'm always listening in the shower or while I'm getting ready in the morning or in the car or, as you said, on the treadmill or walking.
Yeah.
And it's very different when you're consuming content in that type of situation versus, you know, it's like you're active, you're multitasking because you're doing something, but at the same time, your mind is not. Your mind is able to consume it. And so I didn't even really think about any of that at all. That was something that kind of came to me after I started.
Yeah.
And so, I think podcasting is a great platform. I think there's plenty of women out there that should be taking this platform and embracing it. And I love that you're able to you have this course and this group that you have and all this stuff, and that's what you're passionate about. Because I think that, yes, messaging is one thing, but having a platform where you can deliver that message is the next step. And I think that I love that you can actually close that loop for people.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Well, thank you so much. And one thing Melanie didn't mention that we totally have in common is we're scrappy, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
We're so scrappy.
Yep.
Like
We're scrappy, but we're not crappy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on the show,
Yeah.
Melanie. Where can everybody find you? And tell us the name of your podcast one more time.
Yeah, so MelanieDyan.com is probably the best way to kind of find me, learn about me, and that's MELANIEDYANN. And then my podcast is called DIY Marketing School with Melanie Diane Howe, and you can find it everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the
You bet,
conference.
sister. Thanks for having me.
Y'all, I knew that you were just going to love Melanie. Oh my gosh, she's so much fun. She is just a ball of energy. And I've already learned so much from this woman, and I've only known her for a few months. And like I said, I just met her in person a few days ago. And I just know that we're going to have so much fun together in the coming weeks, months, and years. And I'm just excited to see all the cool things that she comes up with. The DIY Marketing Podcast, the DIY Marketing School podcast is incredible. She has such good content. So if you are in the online space, I encourage you to go check her out. If you are scrappy and you're all about doing things for yourself on a budget or within the realms of just figuring it out. Like, y'all, there's so many things that I think that as online marketers, we get scared that like, oh, well, I can't do it that way, or that looks too intimidating, or, that's like, I'm not good enough to do whatever. Bull hockey. That's probably the most ridiculous things I've ever said in my life. But you see what I'm saying? Like, that's total crap. That's BS. You can absolutely do it. You can do it. And I want to guide you towards Melanie. Like, she is someone who is scrappy. She is someone she just shows up authentically as herself. And just by doing that, she encourages me all the time. All the time. She just shows up as her true self with her spunkiness and her energy, and it just draws people to her. So I encourage you to go check her out, follow her on social media, go listen to her podcast because it is amazing. And I encourage you to subscribe, leave her a review, like just do all the things because you won't regret it. I promise you, you're going to fall in love with her as much as I did. And I know that she's going to make a really big impact on you. And you can apply so much of her principles to the podcast that you're creating, or the one that you've already started, or the one that you're about to launch, or the one that you need help marketing. She is your go-to girl for anything DIY marketing. But that does it for today. So if this is your first time tuning in, I'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review. Tell us all the things that you loved about this episode, or tell me some of the other topics that you want to hear us talk about. And I encourage you to take a screenshot of wherever you're listening to this and share it on social media. Tag me everywhere. I'm at Krystal Profit TX. And I encourage you to tag the Profit Podcast. Use the hashtag the Profit Podcast. Like, share it on social media, because the more that we can get this information out into the world, the more confident podcasters we're going to have out there. And that is my mission, is to encourage people, to let them know you can do this. I'm not a rocket scientist in podcasting. I don't have a special certification that allows me to have a podcast. Like, you can do this too. And that is the message that I want other people to know. So I encourage you to go check out the show notes at krystalprofit.com/episode 94 and go check out the 5-day Create Your Podcast Bootcamp if you haven't already looked into that. Look at all of our cool things that we have in the resource library. And like I said, go check out the show notes. But remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Krystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Krystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.